Hi, I'm Andrew Yox, and we're so glad to have you all for our 8th Webb Fall presentation of the state of Texas. You know, we're so fortunate in this state because we do have this eponymous father, Walter Prescott Webb, who gave us a society. No other state has this kind of historical association at a collegiate level with so many prizes and chances to present. And before we meet our students, I just want to say something about our student from last year, Caitlin Cox, who got married, now Caitlin Lester, who presented a poster here on our eponymous father, Walter Prescott Webb. She points out that he was really a very unique historian in his own way. Maybe he doesn't always rank up with Frederick Jackson Turner and David McCullough and C. Van Woodward among all the luminaries of American history, but in his own maverick way, he was an amazing success. And his own maverick way was that he was a historian for the past, like his book of the Texas Rangers was a bestseller for the book of Texas. He was also an historian for the present. He had this kind of grand arc of erudition. He was a historian for the present because he advised President Lyndon Johnson about potable water and other environmental issues. And he was an historian for the future in that he set in motion what is today our Webb Society, as well as the Junior Historians, which are the longest running high school association for a state historical society, as well as the handbook, the Texas Handbook, the most popular book today. He did not foresee during the early 1960s that it would be online, but he was the one who set this book in motion that we use so much today. So he created pathways for future excellence in history. Well, it was suggested for our Walter Prescott Webb meeting today that we would talk about a particular place and maybe go there. We come from a lot of different towns in Northeast Texas, but where there is a sort of a person that has a sense of place in our consciousness, and that is Bo Pilgrim, who realigned our whole rural area and set up an amazing Fortune 100 corporation. And that's what we did our film on. And so I'd like to begin our presentation then with Kate Bennett, who we're so thankful was willing to play Bo Pilgrim in our pandemic summer of 2020. Kate.
Hi, I'm Cade. I was really excited whenever they asked me to play Bo Pilgrim because I've known about him most of my life, and actually being able to be him and embrace his character, both the positive and negative aspects of it, was really interesting. And I think the final result of the film turned out really great. And now I'd like to introduce Israel Perez.
So I did research on Bo Pilgrim, who was a classic example of the American dream. You know, from the cusp of the Great Depression to a Fortune 100 company. What made Pilgrim really unique was his incorporation of Christianity into his business to an extreme extent. Sure, there were other CEOs who were affiliated with Christianity, like John Rockefeller and John Wanamaker, but none were an evangelist at the extreme that Bo Pilgrim was. His main ambition was to overtake Tyson, the #1 poultry producer during his time. He saw that if he were to be #1, he would gain a lot more attention and have a more of opportunity to spread the gospel. And this led to phenomenal means to overtake Tyson by establishing a flow of labor from Mexico in 1987 to Northeast Texas. So Bo Pilgrim was responsible for this mass immigration of Christian Hispanics to Northeast Texas. And now I'd like to introduce John Rodriguez.
So one reason why Pilgrim was so successful was because he had this loyal Hispanic workforce, this massive manual powerhouse. And I branched out from this, and in my research I had an overview of the concept of quietism, which quelled many Mexican Americans starting since the mid-20th century, dating back to the early 1940s within the Bracero program. The concept of quietism has also been a part of the fall of the party La Raza Unida. And it's also created these socially silent stars and icons like our very own Queen of Tejanos, Elena Quintanilla. And now I'd like to introduce Hilda Rodriguez.
So I was lucky enough to interview workers from Pilgrims, and what I learned is hard to put into words. They are constantly put through rough schedules, but because Bo Pilgrims knew how to value their workers, they lacked to join unions and rebel against it, which is one of the factors to domestic quietism. and I am following currently a worker of pilgrims and doing a research. So here is Alia Villanueva talking about Beau's rival.
My research was on Bill Radcliffe, a political leader in his time, and Beau Pilgrim was his economic leader in this time also, and they were very big rivals. They argued over the environmental issues like the stench in Mount Pleasant and bribery.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. I, Beau Pilgrim, brought a sense of an economic boom to Mount Pleasant that they did not know before. So frankly, I find such accusations to be downright disrespectful.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but the $20 in Bibles isn't necessarily what we would call Christian.
Compared to what he did with Mount Pleasant.
Sorry, I messed that word up. Stop. Hello, my name is Carolina, and I'll be talking a little bit about cinematography and my roles in the film. As cinematography, the way I see it was how we brought our vision to life. Myself and a couple of other scholars took a training on how to properly use and set up the equipment. One of the most important things was just setting up the camera to where we had a good angle to get a good shot of everything so that the footage was usable. In my experience, I was very glad to be a part of it. I learned a new skill, and I was also able to play 2 actors, and I had a fun experience. And well, now I'd like to introduce Brian Ramirez.
I am one of the 2 directors in charge of the film, and our duties are to produce the film to the best of our excellence, to the best of our ability with the utmost excellence, and to make sure that everyone is well, supposed to be on time, which is also the unit production directors, which is I also am, duties, which is to make sure everyone is at the same place on time. And I'm also the editor of the film, which is to make sure that the film is exactly how the directors want it. And the film is set to release on February of next year. So now I'd like to introduce Andrea Reyes, the coordinator for honors.
Thank you, Brian. As you said, I'm Andrea Reyes. I have had the pleasure of working on a film project for 2 years now, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit about the dynamic that happens behind the scenes, and that is all the team building that happens. This film project, it's sort of an honors orientation for the students, as it happens before they've had the chance to take their first course together. So by the time that they do, they've already experienced this big project together that has really just given them research skills, leadership skills, and also helped them bond as a team. In terms of leadership, I've also noticed a pattern. The students that have the biggest roles and the most responsibility continue to seek out leadership opportunities, not only on campus, but in several places in their life. And this also gives us an opportunity for when they apply for scholarships and transfer to a university for us to list this film project. For most, it is a significant endeavor. So we're proud to say that we are a part of that, and that these students just have a chance to be proud and feel a sense of accomplishment for this project. I would like to thank you for your time and for listening to these well-deserving students.